Aliens cried for help, and Deathworlders materialized from the shadows. Beginning, the message went out on every frequency known to the Galactic Council. It was a desperate scream, carried on radio bursts, plasma wave pulses, even the ancient medium of light flashes encoded through quantum entanglement. This is the Tlathri Confederacy. We are under attack. Our defenses are shattered. Our cities burn. Please, anyone, help us. The voice was weak, trembling, and full of something the galaxies had not heard from the proud Tlathri in millennia. Fear. Ships of the Council detected the call. Species across the Orion spur whispered about the slaughter. The attackers were distracted, a species of biomechanical horrors that descended on star systems like locusts, leaving behind nothing but stripped worlds and drifting corpses. Every race heard the plea, and almost everyone lowered their heads in silence. None dared answer. The Dractid could not be fought. But deep in the dark corners of the Council's archives, buried under sanctions and centuries of suppression, a rumor began to surface. Some whisper of a species exiled, a people marked as unfit for galactic society because they had come from a world labeled Death World Class 5, a place where gravity was crushing, storms could tear mountains apart, and life clawed for survival against extinction every day. The species' name was barely spoken aloud anymore. Most knew them only by a whisper. Humans. For centuries, the Council had agreed never to call upon them again. Their methods were too brutal, their wars too destructive, their capacity for violence too horrifying to coexist with the fragile alliances of the stars. But now, with the Tlathri screaming for salvation, desperate voices broke the silence. Perhaps the Deathworlders could help. And so, for the first time in 400 years, a cry was sent into the black void. Not a plea to the Council, but to the shadows where the Deathworlders had been cast away. Middle. Captain Syrinx of the Tlathri clutched the railing of his burning ship, scales blistering in the heat of ruptured conduits. The Dractid swarm tore through his fleet like predators through a flock of hatchlings. Every instinct screamed at him to flee. But where could he run? Every star around them was falling. Suddenly, the comms officer's voice cracked through static. Captain, we're receiving a response. Syrinx staggered forward. From the Council? No. The signal. It doesn't match any Council species. It's ancient. On the display, a transmission appeared, jagged, unrefined, nothing like the clean tones of the Council. A distorted voice echoed through. Message received. Stand by. That was all. No plea for more details. No promises of diplomacy. Just 3 words. Stand by. Hours passed. The Tlathri fleet dwindled. Their worlds fell silent. Syrinx had begun to believe the message was nothing but a cruel trick, until the sky itself ripped open. They emerged from nowhere. Not sleek silver vessels, like the Council's. Not elegant, crystalline ships of the Elvari. These were jagged, scarred, ugly constructs. Hulking machines bristling with weapons, armor blackened by past wars. Their edges glowed with control fury. At first, Syrinx thought they were more Dractid monsters. But then the comms blared again. Deathworlder Expeditionary Force reporting. Target species confirmed. Commencing counteroffensive. The humans had come. What followed was not war as the galaxy knew it. It was slaughter, but in reverse. Where Council fleets fought with beams of light and graceful maneuvers, the humans attacked like predators from a nightmare. Their ships spewed metal projectiles at velocities so great, they punched through Dractid armor like paper. They launched swarms of guided missiles, each splitting into dozens of smaller warheads, tearing the biomechanical monstrosities apart from within. And then came the boarding parties. Syrinx watched in awe as human dropships rammed into Dractid carriers, their hulls cutting open like knives. From those dropships poured figures clad in black exosuits, moving with terrifying efficiency. They carried weapons that spat metal and fire, their every shot exploding chitin and steel. The Dractid, feared across the galaxy, shrieked as they fell. The humans moved like shadows, like predators born for this exact nightmare. And perhaps, Syrinx realized with shiver, they were, for 3 days and nights, the humans fought. The Council watched from afar, horrified and transfixed. The Deathworlders did not just repel the invasion. They hunted the hunters. Admiral Keller, commander of the human fleet, stood over a holographic table in the warship Iron Requiem. Her eyes were dark, sleepless, but steady. Status of the swarm? She asked. 70% eliminated, Admiral. Replied her second. Remaining forces are in retreat toward uncharted space. Not enough, Keller muttered. If we leave them, they'll come back stronger. We finish this. The officer hesitated. Admiral, the Council will see this as excessive. Keller's gaze hardened. The Council didn't answer the distress call. We did. Excessive or not, we're not letting these things butcher another world. Meanwhile, Syrinx found himself aboard a human ship as a liaison, though he suspected the humans merely wanted him out of the way. Still, he observed. He saw how the humans worked, not just with discipline, but with a strange, savage unity. They laughed even in the darkest hours. They carried pictures of families into battle. They argued with their commanders, then fought harder than ever to protect one another. Most frightening of all, Sarek saw how quickly they adapted. A weapon that failed once was redesigned in hours. A tactic that faltered was abandoned and replaced before the next engagement. The humans treated war not as ceremony, but as instinct. To them, this was survival. And to the Dracted, it was extinction. The Council could not ignore it any longer. Representatives gathered in the Grand Spire, their voices sharp with fear. The Deathworlders are out of control, hissed the XYLN delegate. They butcher without restraint. They destabilize the balance of our alliances. But they save the Tlathri, countered the Elvari envoy. Would you rather the Swarm devour them all? They will not stop with the Dracted, warned another. Once Deathworlders taste victory, they will seek the next enemy, perhaps us. And so, while the humans bled in the shadows, the Council debated whether to condemn or embrace them, ending. The final battle came in the Nebula of Seraphis 9, where the Swarm had gathered its largest hive ship. It was a construct the size of a moon, bristling with tendrils and living cannons. The Council declared it suicidal to engage. The humans engaged anyway. The Iron Requiem led the charge, hurling railgun fire that split the void with thunder. Waves of human ships swarmed around the hive, dodging beams of plasma, driving closer. Boarding torpedoes slammed into the hive's skin, disgorging human marines into its pulsating guts. Sarek, against all sense, was there too. He had begged to fight beside them. Perhaps it was madness, but it seemed what the humans truly were, not monsters, but guardians born of a nightmare world. Inside the hive, the fighting was apocalyptic. The humans tore through living corridors that bled acid, fighting clawed beasts that shrieked in unison. Grenades ripped open chambers. Flamethrowers scorched the horrors within. Sarek himself fired a human weapon, trembling as it roared in his claws. At the heart of the hive, Admiral Keller and her strike team planted the device, a warhead of human design, something Sarek could scarcely comprehend. Extraction in 2 minutes, Keller barked, blood streaking her faceplate. They barely made it. As the last dropship shot from the hive's surface, the warhead detonated. The explosion bloomed like a star being born, tearing the hive apart from the inside. When the light faded, the swarm was gone. Silence followed. Across the stars, the Council held its breath. The Tlathri wept in gratitude, and the humans they did not celebrate. They merely began repairing their ships, preparing for the next war they knew would come. Admiral Keller stood before Sarek one last time. You'll tell your Council we came when no one else would, she said. Sarek bowed deeply, his voice breaking. You are not what they told us you were. You are more. You are necessary. Keller's expression was unreadable. We're not heroes, Captain. We're survivors. And survival is messy. With that, the human fleet vanished back into the shadows of space, just as quickly as they had appeared. Epilogue. In the Grand Spire, the Council argued endlessly. Some demanded the Deathworlders be outlawed once more, their weapons too dangerous. Others whispered that perhaps it was time to welcome them back into galactic society, if only out of fear of being their next enemy. But for the Tlathri, the question was answered when the galaxy had turned away, when the swarm had descended and all hope was lost. It was the Deathworlders who materialized from the shadows, and the stars would never forget it.